really is a classic matchup of good against good, or maybe in this case, great against great. Patrick Mahomes and the most dynamic offense in the sport against a San Francisco defense that is sensational. So, RC, just as big picture as we can, that matchup, Mahomes versus this D.
It's the perfect matchup, right? You have this defense that has shown all year that they're the best defense in the league. And if you look at the teams, you would say to yourself, the San Francisco 49ers are more complete. They have been better the entire year. And you still pick the Kansas City Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes. It's like nothing we have ever seen. And I remember marching into the Super Bowl in 2010 and 11, and we had the #1 defense in the NFL, but we were playing against a man named Aaron Rodgers. And until Patrick Mahomes, he was the best I had ever seen. So when this game starts and this defense gets going, you're never going to be comfortable if you're the San Francisco 49ers because 15 is pulling the trigger on the other side.
Well, Marcus, that really is the thing, because forever the adage was great defenses win championships. Is Mahomes, like Rodgers and maybe a Tom Brady and others, is he the exception to that rule?
He is the exception, G. And look, if he was slightly not as good as he is, this would be a different conversation. But the fact that he's playing at a level that we haven't seen in this league in a long time, and going back to what RC was talking about against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay at that time, that was the greatest ever conversations that we were starting to get into. Here's the point for me, though. When you look at what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do minus throwing the football, because that's what we lauded at for so long last year when he was making all crazy throws and no-look passes, now his feet is involved. And that's my issue. When I look at this game as a defensive player, especially playing defensive line as long as I did in the NFL, it is devastating when a guy can throw going left and right and can take off and scamper for 20 or 30 yards. And now he's getting to that part of physical where he's not shying away from contact. Now, I don't know if that's smart for him and his value going forward, but at this point in time, when you look at Pat Mahomes and you try to find a hole in this game, there are none.
He is their leading rusher, Mahomes, in each of their 2 playoff wins leading into this. Do you expect that to be a big factor on Sunday?
It's absolutely a big factor. And since he's come back from the dislocated knee, it's been his willingness to run the football. He was always a scramble to pass type of guy. And that's going to be huge when you're playing against a defense that likes to rush 4 and drop 7. So there are going to be some holes once you get outside of the pocket. This is going to be the game where we find out if Patrick Mahomes puts himself among some of the best that have ever played this game by beating a defense that has dominated quarterbacks all season.
Yeah, there's the difference between greatest and best. He can't be in the greatest conversation yet. He's only been a starter for 2 seasons. But if he does do this against this legendary defense, Marcus, the conversations on Monday will be interesting.
No question, and they'll be a part of him being one of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
When you look at what Pat Mahomes did.
Wait. So what you're saying is we're going to change the parameters that have always been around for greatest ever, which is winning multiple championships. The reason Joe Montana was the greatest was because of championships, even though everybody knew Dan Marino was a better quarterback. So out the gate, our first show here, you're saying if Patrick Mahomes wins, he's in the greatest ever conversation?
It's about how he wins, and yes, he is in the conversation if he wins this dominantly. Look, we've lauded the 49ers defense, RC. Think about it. This dude was in the AFC Championship last year. He was the MVP of the league last year. What's the common denominator between the Kansas City Chiefs making the playoff run and going to the Super Bowl? It's Pat Mahomes. When he was out, we left the team for dead. We started talking about Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson in the MVP conversation. This dude and what he's done since day one of him playing is in the conversation if he goes and dominate a Super Bowl against a top 2 defense.
3.
Come on,
all
man.
3, like Baby said.
Listen, bro,
and it isn't even really 3. He only started 1 game in his first. Okay, as you can see, we are in midweek form because it's appropriate that we started here on a Wednesday. We have a cast of, well, not thousands, but at least dozens down here. Laura, who do you have over there?
Yeah, exactly. We got Dominique Foxworth, of course, Shefty over here as well, and Dan Orlovsky. And we're going to continue to talk about Patrick Mahomes and so much of this about his contract and how much he could get paid. Of course, all eyes on that and the future contract situation now drawing additional attention because he's still on his rookie deal, but Chief CEO Clark Hunt is in no rush to offer an extension to his star quarterback. Now, here's what Hunt said. He said, quote, "There will be a right time sometime in the next 12 to 15 months to extend Patrick. And when I say right time, I mean right time for both the player and the club. I don't want to say necessarily it has to be this offseason, but I will say that it's a priority to get him done." Now, look, you can look at these things so many different ways. And at first, Shefty, the whole point is that he's going to be playing in the Super Bowl. That's what the attention is all about. But if we do look forward, what is important to know about the contract situation for Patrick Mahomes and their willingness to pay him?
Well, there are a few things here. Number one, he's not going anywhere. Right. He's going to be a Chief, and he's going to be a Chief indefinitely. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I think that the Chiefs, it would be in their best interest to get it done before the new collective bargaining agreement kicks in, because the money is going to go way up once that happens. The TV money is going to inflate player deals, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be and should be the highest paid player in all of football. But the Chiefs could do the deal in March. They could do it next March. Whenever they do it, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the highest paid player in football. And so if you're a player, you want to do it sooner rather than later, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to wait because there might be even more money. But in the end, he's not going anywhere, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, especially coming off this Super Bowl, like if he wins, he's going to beat one of the best defenses in the league, and with the Hall of Fame cornerback and Richard Sherman, so he's going to have the ultimate leverage. I have a question for you, Shefty, because you know a lot of more. Is there the opportunity for them to potentially rewrite parts of this CBA because of this contract? Like, can he tie some of his contract or percentage salary-wise to the overall salary cap as part of like the CBA?
That would not be done in the new CBA. That would be done in his contract. But you can make a claim if you're Patrick Mahomes that you can come up with creative clauses. And
so there's nothing that hinders like the owners for going, because of the salary cap, we're going to pay you X, but we're going to create different forms of income.
I think that it'd be smart for them to, or for Patrick Mahomes and his representation, to tie his salary to a percentage, or have a clause in there that says something like, I have to be amongst the top 3 paid, because that will protect him from the big leap that was going to happen when new CBA is signed. But what I was thinking about is like what you were saying, there are plenty of rules in there to keep you from doing stuff outside of a contract, but there's nothing to say that if Patrick Mahomes did like Dirk Nowitzki did and like started a production company, that the Chiefs could invest in that. I'd be thinking of ways to do other things, that you could find ways to get money into Patrick Mahomes' pocket that he deserves more than to be outside of the CBA.
And they have been thinking about this deal, both sides, for months, even years now, because, again, you heard Brett Veach, the Chiefs general manager, say that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest player, not in the NFL today, that he's ever seen, seen. So if the greatest player that the Chiefs GM has ever seen wins a Super Bowl now at the age he is, you might as well just give him a blank check and say, Patrick, you fill in the numbers that you think are fair, because he's going to be worth every penny they give him.
Okay, blank check or not, and look, that makes sense to me, but some people have said, Dan Orlovsky, that maybe Patrick Mahomes could benefit long-term by taking a pay cut like we've seen Tom Brady do.
Stupid things.
Listen, it's not something that I agree with, but it is out there. So in your mind, is that even a possibility for him to consider? Because it worked for Tom Brady, because other players can, of course, get paid more.
No, the salary cap has gone up like 50% in the last 4 or 5 years. The money is going to continue to grow. The NFL is as popular or more popular than it's ever been. And so the opportunity for guys to make their money is going to continue to grow. I don't think that the Chiefs can go the traditional route and go, okay, Matt Ryan's contract or Kirk Cousins guaranteed money, we're just going to go get better than that. They're going to have to get super creative, because it's going to shatter anything that anyone has made at that position.